Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video, which is a video where my chair is slowly turning on me, but no, it is my reading update. I actually have things to talk about this month, which is amazing. I have finished 2 books, actually technically 4 things. 2 I did DNF, and then 2 I finished. So I'll be talking about books I read. I'll give you some little mini reviews. I'll talk about what I'm currently reading, and then I also have some library checkouts and some books that I have purchased over the past month since I did my last reading update. So let's get started with the books that I read, and then we'll get into the library books and books I bought. So the first book that I read, first book that I read was book number 4 in the Gold Valley series, which is A Tall Dark Cowboy Christmas by Macy Yates. This is book 4 in the Gold Valley series, and it's also a Christmas one, and yes, I was reading this one since December. This is Grant Dodge and McKenna Tate's story, and this is the story of Grant. I just said that, but it's Grant's story. He is a widower, and he's kind of known around town as like a local celebrity because he married his high school sweetheart who was dying of cancer. And after she passed away, everyone kind of just seen him as like this ultimate good guy who took one for the team, I guess you would say, and he could never get past that, and he could never get past the passing of his late wife. So he turned alcohol to get over that and to cope, and then McKenna, who, let me go ahead and turn this down just a little bit. There we go. That way I can actually rest my hand on the armrest. And then McKenna Tate is coming to the city of Gold Valley. I can't put a thought together of Gold Valley to find a strange family. She was in the foster system, and then when she aged out of the system, she was given her birth certificate, and she had her father's name on there, and after research, he lives in Gold Valley. And coincidentally enough, they are the main people who are going to be in the next story arc in book 6+. After that, I think 6, 7, and 8 are their stories. And this was the end of the Dodge family story arc, and then it will go to the what is their name? Not Dane. Hold on a second. I can tell you their name if I can grab it. The book. Or maybe I can't. Maybe I can. Where is it? Stick with me. I'm finding right now. The Dalton family. The Dalton family is the next story arcing after book 5, which is the main female character from book 3. Her brother is that main character, and kind of is Beatrix, who is a family friend of everyone in the whole series. So I really ended up liking A Tall Dark Cowboy Christmas. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, I believe, on Goodreads. I give pretty much all Macy Yates books 5 stars because I do find that every single one in that is enjoyable. It is kind of the stereotypical Harlequin, happily ever after, married and pregnant within by the epilogue, which is always 1 year after. The main female character is always probably 2 or 3 months into her pregnancy with the main character. But I do find it enjoyable, and I do like reading the kind of happy ending books because you always know what's coming. You always know, even the hardships going through it, that it's going to be a good ending, and I like that. And with how heavy the world can be sometimes, it's always good to have a book that is, kind of just everything that's not going on in the world type of thing. But yeah, so I really enjoyed A Tall Dark Cowboy Christmas, and it was kind of a bittersweet one, being the finale of the Dodge family storyline, but it's a Harlequin series. That means that they will be coming back in the future. I did also like there was a small tease in the novella, which I'll talk about, for a possible 3rd series in Oregon from Macy Yates, which will probably be coming after the Gold Valley one wraps up, probably. So after that, I did move on to the novella in the back, which is the 3.5 novella back here, and that is Snowed In with the Cowboy. This is a subgenre, not really subgenre, it's a novella that was in the first books, and it tells the story of, I have to actually look them up because I don't remember, Chloe Nolan and her stepbrother. No, not Chloe. Yeah, Chloe and Tanner. They are stepbrother and sister, not related. They've kind of had like this flirtatious all the time, and you have to read. You can't just jump from this book in the front to the novella in the back without reading the other two novellas first, because their story is very much one of the ones that overarcs all three novellas, and if you just jump into this one in the back, it'll be very much like insta-lovey, and if you read the other novellas, you'll understand that it's not insta-lovey at all. It's kind of something that has been built up throughout the entire thing. So I do find that it was really good, and actually it was probably one of my favorite novellas in the series, in the kind of the point five series, I guess I would call it. I don't think there's any actually more coming up because there's not anything on Goodreads about 0.5, so I don't know unless it starts getting added with book 6. But I did enjoy it, and I didn't really care for their characters very much because you really didn't see them very often in the main series too much. You just kind of seen them in the novellas. But I did find it enjoyable. It was a good story. It was a fast story, about 100 pages. I just don't really ever have too many feelings that you can't really talk too much about novellas, because if I say one thing wrong, you have the whole thing. You have the whole story done. I did end up give, I think, that this novella a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which I usually only give the novellas in the Macy 8 series or other series at most a 4. To me, there has never been a novella that I don't think has been ever a 5-star, except for maybe the novella for Zadist in the Black Dagger series. That one was a 5, obviously, because Zadist. So after that, I moved on to reading Hocus Pocus and the brand new sequel. I think it's called Witch Please. I have some opinions I didn't think I would like. I didn't think I would even say about this book, which is I do not like it. I love Hocus Pocus. I watch the movie probably 5-6 times a year, and I just really enjoy it. The problems I had was the first book, which is Hocus Pocus. It literally was just straight ripped from the movie. It was like the author, who the author of this one is A.W. Janth. It was almost just like they were watching the movie and wrote every single scene that happened, because you know how you go to the DVD features and pull up the scenes? Like, they pulled up every single scene, wrote what happened, wrote the dialogue down, wrote the emotions down for the dialogue, and put it onto paper. And the reason I say that is because the first one, Hocus Pocus, is in third person, and the brand new sequel, which is brand new and they wrote, was in first person. So you can tell that they were translating this to third person on here, and this one back here was the one they were writing. So I didn't really end up reading Hocus Pocus, the first one, because obviously it's the movie. I've watched it. I don't need to read what I've read before or watched before, especially because the magic of the witty one-liners, the magic of, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy McJimmy, I believe is her name, the magic of their lines, the snarkiness of Winnie wasn't there, the kind of dumb, blonde, bubbly personality of Sarah Jessica's character wasn't there. It just wasn't very enjoyable, and that's sad to say about Hocus Pocus. And then the brand new sequel, I got about 100 pages in, and I was just done. The characters, no, it just seemed like, I don't want to say this the wrong way. It seemed like it was someone from an older generation who was writing for a newer generation. It was like, the newer generation likes to use Instagram. So let's throw like Instagram into one chapter like 20 times. And it had no plot to the book. I do like that they were introducing an LGBT plus romance between the main female character Poppy and I think her best friend Isabel. Yeah, Isabel. But even that can really save it. And it just kind of, there was so many parallels of the first of Hocus Pocus in the second one, where someone got turned into an animal. For some reason, the main character went back and played the Ouija board, the spirit board, in the Sanderson witch's house on Halloween night. And her parents, Poppy's parents, are the male lead and the female love interest from the first book. And they've warned her all her life about the Sanderson sisters. So along that time, they had to warn her of the spell that brings the Sanderson sisters back. And yet, Poppy went ahead and read what the spirit board was saying, aka saying the spell. You're trying to tell me that your parents have warned you since you were born, I think she's 15 or 16, so for 16 years, about the Sanderson clan, and you just kind of keep going on, you know? That was just like a no, I was done. And then they tried to introduce a good Sanderson sister into the mix. I was just like, no, I'm done. I skimmed, I read to the end, I read the last chapter, wasn't good ending. They've put an epilogue in there that left it open for another book. Like, we don't need more if it's gonna be that quality, and just stick with the movie. Just stick with the Hocus Pocus movie and act like this doesn't exist. If you see it, just act like it doesn't exist. Go home and watch Hocus Pocus. Do not watch or read this book at all. I would not recommend it for anyone. So, that is all that I read and finished. Now let's go on to what I'm currently reading, which is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. This is book 1 in the, the Black Dagger Brotherhood. For some reason I always say Dark Dagger, but it's Black Dagger. This is book 1, Dark Lover. This is the first book in, I think, why do I keep saying this is book 1, this is the first, for tonight, I don't know why, my brain's just doing that tonight. This is the first in a very long series. I have read up to book 12, The King, which I got about about a quarter of the way through, and I did stop because I kind of killed myself with the series back in the day. I think I read all, 11 books in a month and a half. So yeah, I was addicted to this series. And I was recently sent these books, and I start with book 3. I got 100 pages in. It's like, I'm liking this, but I do want to go back from book 1 and reread it all. So I set that one aside, and I'll go back to that one. This is Wrath and Beth's story, which Beth is the daughter of Darius, who was murdered in the first chapter. Not a spoiler, I can say that because it's the kicking point of the book. He was murdered by the Lessers in the series, which the Lessers is kind of an evil, soulless, let me go ahead and read the definition here on the front. The Lessers, where are they at? Because we give a glossary in the first one. Or is it not going to tell you? So I can read it off for everyone. Lesser Society. Order of Slayers convened by the Omega for the purpose of eradicating the vampire species. Go to the Omega, malevolent mystical figure who has targeted the vampires for extinction out of the resentment directed towards the scribe virgin. Exists in a non-temporal realm and has extensive powers, though not the power of creation. And since I mentioned, the scribe virgin is basically the Jesus of the series, a female Jesus of the series of the vampire spirit. They're basically the vampire mother. And Darius's one of Darius's last wishes, which became his last wish, was for Wrath to help his daughter Beth through her transition, because she is a halfling, she's half human, half vampire, and when they reach a certain age, they go through the change, and you need a vampire's blood to go through change to help, and it's a very tough situation. A lot of people don't make it through there, and once they go through the change, they become these different things. Like, a lot of the male vampires start off as like super scrawny characters, and then they like shoot up to this like 7 foot tall, big huge muscles, jacked characters, and have this all like strength and everything like that. and sometimes mystical abilities, stuff like that. Like, I think, what's his name? Vicious, I believe it was, has like visions, stuff like that. So he ends up feeling bad about turning Darius down before he ends up getting killed, and he goes to Beth's place, and voila, they end up together. It is a very steamy book, so I would say don't read that if you don't like to be like those kind of romances. I originally don't like those kind of romances, but the story was so good, I was like, I'm gonna keep reading this. I can just skim past those parts. I don't need to actually read those parts. I just kind of just like, when it comes to it, it's like, okay, let's see it. Okay, they're still doing it. Still going on. Still going on. Still going on. Okay, they're finally done. You know, type of thing, and just kind of fly past like 20 pages. But yeah, I really like this one. The first time I read this book, it was a 5-star, and it's going to be a 5-star again. I can already tell that. This whole series is going to be a 5-star. I think there was only one 4-star, which was Lover Enshrined, which was Fury's story. I did not like that book at all. So yeah, that was the only, I think, 4-star book at all. I didn't like Fury. I don't like Fury. And I might even skip over that book because I did not like that book. Didn't like the book at all. I ended up actually, when I first read that one, I actually skipped over all of Fury's parts and only read the side character storylines because I hated Fury that much. She's kind of just like a drug addicted vampire, and I didn't find his redemption arc very good. So I will probably just skip over that book, but I like it because I have it in the collection. So yeah, I will continue reading this one. I'm on chapter 4 right now. My hopes for the end of this weekend is to possibly finish it. I want to finish it, or to get to chapter 18, which is about right there. Possibly chapter 23, which is probably about the halfway point. I would like to get at least halfway done with this book this month, or this weekend. So that is what I'm currently reading, and I'm still working my way through Aragon. Haven't picked this one up yet. Just haven't been in the fantasy mood. I love the series. I have read this book. This will be, I think, my 6th time reading it. And I love the series, and I recently was gifted the whole series, so I'm really excited to actually get back into it now and to finish up the whole series. I'm going to go through it very slowly. Hopefully my goal is to maybe by either the end of the year or end of next year to be finished up with this series. So let me grab a drink really quick. Let's move on to my library current checkouts. So currently, this will change because I'm going to the library tomorrow on Saturday. We'll probably see this on Sunday probably. I have to go to the library, so there'll probably be more, but so I'm just going to show what I have currently. I'm going to return some and then keep some more. So, HBO is turning this series into a TV show, so I went to pick it up and read it, and it's a very acclaimed and loved series, and that is Golden Compass. This is book 1 in his Dark Material books by Philip Pullman. This is a young adult children's series. It's a fantasy series, and I don't really know much about it, and I want to keep it that way going into it. I know it is super, super well loved, and that a lot of people enjoy it. I have actually never read this book, so I'm really excited to actually try it for the first time and go into it. I know HBO is turning his Dark Materials into a TV show. I don't know if it's going to be like an adult take on it, or if it's going to be like a children's kind of a darker children's TV show, type of thing, where kind of darker spin on it. I'm not sure how it's actually gonna go, but I believe it comes on later in the fall season, I think, something like that. So I will hopefully have this done by then. So yeah, I don't really know much about it other than there's a huge polar bear on the front, but I see it there. I'll grab it. They have book 2 there, so if I like it, I will grab book 2, and then I'll probably have to request book 3 because I didn't see it there. So this book here, I do know was once a Disney Channel original movie. I never watched it because I was out of the Disney Channel era by then, but I seen this there, so you only go ahead and grab it. This was probably a more going into pre-young adults. That's Lemonade Mouth by Mark Peter Hughes. Yeah, I just grabbed it. I think it's about a group of teenagers in a band called Lemonade Mouth. And yeah, so I'm just going to grab it and figure I'll give it a try to read. I don't really read much synopses. So the next one here, this one here, I will say is subject to change, and I might have to go back because this book is due on the 28th of this month, and there's no way I can read this book by the 28th of the month unless I sit there just kind of super fast skim read it, and I probably wouldn't enjoy it. So I'm going to try to, when I go tomorrow, or when I go Saturday, I'm going to go to return it and ask them, can you check if there's any holds? If there is any holds, can you please renew it for me? So I get it renews the process, because my library, you get a total of 9 weeks or 2 renewal periods, because you get 3 weeks per thing. So you get the first one is your first renewal, and you get you get your first period, and then you get 2 renewals. And I'm on the second renewal here, so I have to go ahead and return it, see if there's any holds, and then check it back out if there isn't any. And that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is a young adult historical LGBT romance. I believe the main character is fits underneath the B, I believe. So yeah, this is kind of like it's about I think, what's his name? He might be a prince, maybe. He's a royal person, and he goes on this like year-long journey and stuff like that to, I guess, prove himself or something like that. I forget how it's described. And he ends up finding love, and he ends up in this like, has the bottom part. Let's see. He goes with his younger sister, which I believe the youngest sister is the second book. And they end up in this like span of like ship battles and like this kind of like chase across like conspiracy type things. I don't know, but it's supposed to be a really, really good one. And the second one, I think, is it's something petticoats and something. So I think it's like a female version of like the historical ones. So I think it's a standalone one, but you can read them either or. But I went to start with book 1. So, and I don't think it's going to take very long because it is bigger printing, but it's just the size of it, and I just don't really want to sit down and read it yet, so that one might get changed. This next one here is actually a middle grade, and that is Supermax and the Mystery of Thornwood's Revenge by Susan Vaught. This was in the new release section, in middle grade section of my library, so I have a 2-floor library. On the bottom is the middle grade section, and on top is the adult and young adult. And I always check the middle grade one because I like reading middle grade. It's kind of just a fun, fast genre. And I picked this one up because actually the main character is disabled, and she has in a wheelchair, and that you don't really see very often in any kind of fiction towards young adults. It's very much able-bodied kids or teens. So I was really excited to see that on the front, and it's just your typical young adult mystery. She goes out to find something that's missing. All that stuff there. And the last one here from the library is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. This is the sequel, spiritual successor, second book in a series of The Hate You Give. And this one is about Bree, who was briefly seen at the end of The Hate You Give. And she lives still in the ghetto portion of town, where like Star was in the better portion of town. This is kind of the story of the bad portion of the town. So I want to definitely read it because I did like The Hate You Give. Truth is, I don't really like heavy novels anymore, like The Hate You Give, so I'm not sure how I'm going to like this one. I kind of like my light and fluffy books, you know, as you can tell by my Harlequins and stuff like that. So I don't know how I'm going to enjoy it, but I want to still read it because I did read The Hate You Give. So that's what I have out from the library, and I did buy some books. So I bought these all books from Harlequin. So the first one I have is Unbroken Cowboy, which is book 5 in the Gold Valley series. This is Dane Parker and Beatrix Layton. Beatrix has been a family friend. She is known as kind of the wild child because she befriends every single wild animal and adopts them all. She has a pet raccoon, actually. And Dane Parker has just recently been through an accident. He was a bull rider, and he's currently rehabbing himself and getting up his ability to walk again, which is really interesting to read because I don't really ever read like bull rider stuff like that. So it would be interesting to actually see and read that. So yeah, I'm interested in reading this one, especially because it is Beatrix, and you've seen Bee throughout the whole series, but she's kind of been a very unlucky in love person. So I really will be excited to read this one, and this is the first one that does not have a novella in the back. It's just all pure novel. And then I also picked up the New One in the Copperidge Desire series, which is Need Me Cowboy. I don't really like the Desire books, but I want to collect all the Gold Valleys. So I think I'm only missing one of the series. I had to figure out which one it is so I can order off of Amazon. I had to order, I had to order, I think 3 of them off of Amazon in paperback, because they disappear. These ones and the presents here disappear all the time from Harlequin's website. They're only available in ebook. I want to get the physical ones because I have all the copperage. So this one is Levi Tucker and Faith Grayson's story. And then Macy Yates also had 2 books in the Harlequin Presents. As you can tell, I like Macy Yates' books. So I got the Spaniard's Untouched Bride and the Spaniard's Stolen Bride. This is book 3692 and 3684. So this one came out in January and this one came out in February. These books here disappear off of Harlequin's website like that, usually within 3 months. If I did not get these books by March, I probably would not have had these books in physical form. They release like 12 of these a month, like the presents. So they go very, very fast and they go out of printing. So you can only get them ebooks. So I try to snatch up any Macy Yates ones that I find when I can. And these ones here are just pretty much, your typical super, super rich guy, woman falls in love with super rich guy type of storyline, And then I ordered, this is book, I think, 6 in the Men of Haven series, which is Down and Dirty. I haven't read any of these yet. These are, I think, firefighter or, they're firefighter or they're, motorcycle ones, like Motorcycle Club men or something like that. This is Axel McKee and... So they don't give the female's last name. And Lizzie's story. That was actually weird because usually they always list the female character's last name, Huh, that's weird. Is it in here? No, but they're already okay. It doesn't have the female's last name, the female character's last name, but within the first chapter there's already an explicit scene in there, so that's... If you like that, that's right up your alley. And then the last book is a hardcover because Harlequin Teen's on the Harlequin website. I couldn't find it, so I actually had to search Harlequin Teen, and then it came up. And that is Toil and Trouble, 15 Tales of Women and Witchcraft. It's edited by Jessica Spotswood and Tess Sharpay, and it has stories by Brandy Cobalt, Zoraida Cordova, Andrea Kremer, Kate Hart, Emery Lord, Elizabeth May, and Anna Marie Macklemore, I'm gonna be butchering these names, by the way. You probably already know that. Taylor. It's these people. These are the authors in here. So I really like stories of witchcraft, and I like female-centered stories, and I've been wanting this one for a while. My library had a copy, and I just never could find it again, so I think it's been out. So this was off the website for the longest time, and I was so happy to actually see that was back in stock on there because I've been wanting it for a while, especially in this beautiful, beautiful hardcover. And there's also one, I think, that's 15 or 16 stories of LGBT romances, or romance stories. And then there's also one that just came out, I think, that has 13 stories about young adults living with disabilities, like learning disabilities, physical disabilities, mental disabilities, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be probably getting the rest of them in the series because I do like my short story collections, because you can feel very accomplished when you finish a story that's like this long. You feel very accomplished, especially when you're coming out of a reading slump. So that is it for my reading update. I was so happy to actually have things to talk about this month for finishing. So yeah, I was very happy about that. Sorry, I had like a stuck hiccup there. I don't know what was happening. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have another 4 things to talk about when it comes to next reading update. So if you don't know, my reading updates are a monthly thing where I talk about it once a month, where I talk about all the books I've read, books that I am currently reading, some library current checkout, some books I've bought, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until next time, I hope you all have an amazing day and happy reading.